What the? Well, Kris Bryant has finally signed, and it's with the team we were not expecting at the beginning of the offseason, as he has signed with the Colorado Rockies. 7 years, $182 million. In this video, I'm going to react to Kris Bryant signing this mega deal with the Colorado Rockies, what it means for Colorado and what it means for us, the free agent market, and the potential suitors that were looking at Kris Bryant originally. If you like this video talking about a signing that does not have to do with the Mets or the Yankees, make sure to leave a like, comment down below. What are your thoughts on this Kris Bryant signing, the fit of him going to Colorado? And whatever team you're a fan of, if it's the Mets or somebody else, would you have signed Kris Bryant to this deal, a guy that's 30 years old, giving him 7 years at $182 million? And if this is your first time watching or you've been watching, haven't subscribed, I know there's plenty of you. I see the numbers. You definitely could do it. It's free, and I'm going to give you the views you want. Just comment down below what you want to see, and if you are ready, like I say, tell a friend, a stranger, a neighbor, a dog, whoever. It definitely would be greatly appreciated. So let's talk about Kris Bryant. I mean, I can't say I'm totally shocked because these were the reports that we were seeing. Colorado Rockies are interested. They're very interested in trying to pick up Kris Bryant. And it just seems very odd because we know that Colorado is one of those teams that they don't really give the perception that they want to compete. They have botched so many things in the past year, whether it was trading away Nolan Arenado and taking on plenty of his contract. Probably could have got a better deal than what they got from St. Louis as far as the return prospect-wise. You give up Trevor Story knowing good well you were not going to re-sign him. You could have traded him, probably got a few good prospects in return. You give away Jon Gray, who's a pretty solid pitcher. You don't qualify offer him. And if you had no intention of re-signing him, you could have traded him. I'll tell you what, the Mets could have used them. So you had these opportunities to, if you weren't going to spend, just be able to improve your team for the future and be able to be competitive while not spending a lot of money. Do what Oakland's doing. Do what Cincinnati's doing. As much as I hate teams not competing and giving away money, at least they're building for the future so that they will be competitive at some point. The way Colorado was just giving away players, not getting anything in return, is not doing them any good. And now they've committed all this money to Kris Bryant, what, to sell tickets so that people in Colorado are actually going to go to these games? Even with Kris Bryant, this team still isn't very good. I mean, I'm sorry, but it just isn't. The pitching, we know it's always very tough to evaluate when you're playing in Coors Field, but other than that, you have Charlie Blackmon who opted back in, you have Ryan McMahon, you have a couple nice pieces here or there, but I don't think this is a team that's really going to compete in National League West or for expanded playoffs. I mean, the other teams are just too good. We know the Phillies are going to do some more. Maybe the Mets have a couple more moves in them, so I just can't really see Colorado being in the playoff picture, even with signing Kris Bryant. And it's just crazy that Colorado is giving a third baseman all this money when they're already still paying Nolan Arenado because they gave the Cardinals plenty of money in the deal to pay off Nolan's contract. And even the contract itself, giving Kris Bryant 7 years for a guy who's 30 years old, he won an MVP a few years ago, he's probably not going to win another MVP, and you're paying him for the back nine of his career. I mean, Kris Bryant probably has a few more good years left in him, but I mean, 5 years from now, in years 5, 6, and 7, I can't say I see Kris Bryant still being a big-time player. And even the year he had last year, it wasn't amazing. It was good, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're a person that likes accolades, he made the All-Star game. WRC Plus at 123, so it was good. It was above average, but it wasn't elite. It wasn't a guy in the 140s or 150s. And if you're going by traditional numbers, between the Chicago Cubs and the San Francisco Giants, 265 average, 353 on-base percentage, 835 OPS, 25 homers, 73 RBIs. A good year, don't get me wrong. Definitely a solid player, but I don't know about 7 years, $182 million. And as a Mets fan, this is a guy that the Mets have been looking at for over a year now. Whether it was making a trade with the Cubs to acquire him or sign him this offseason free agency, we heard so much about him. There were plenty of Mets fans that wanted him. I definitely would have taken him because the Mets could certainly use an upgrade at third base, and then eventually he moves around the field, goes to the outfield, things like that. But I would not have given the guy 7 years because I just know that those past few years I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, we're still paying Kris Bryant. Like the way I feel about Robinson Cano, like, oh my gosh, we're still paying this guy at this age. Who knows what Francisco Lindor is going to look like 8 years from now, 9 years from now, 10 years from now. It's just not good business to have all those really long-term contracts. I mean, what the Mets are doing right now, they have a crazy payroll, I get it. But in a few years from now, 3 years, the Mets payroll is not going to be that bad because they have so much money coming off the books. But if you sign a bunch of guys to big contracts and they have a bunch of years attached to them, then you're just in a bad cap situation year in, year out. It becomes hard to add guys without hurting your draft order and just making it crazy expensive and just not smart. But from Kris Bryant's standpoint, good for him. I mean, he gets plenty of money, more than I thought he was going to get, especially, like I said, those 7 years really what strikes me. And he's going to put up monster numbers in all likelihood, you know, being in Colorado in Coors Field, having the altitude in his advantage. And again, it's like when you look at the Baseball Savant page, he's a solid player. He's pretty good, but he's not elite. He's not in the 80th percentile in some areas. He's not in the 90th percentile in some areas. He's just a pretty good player. He's a nice player to have on your team. But again, I'm not giving him that contract. Now, Kris Bryant does have a full no-trade clause, so even if he wants to get out of Colorado, which I would think maybe at some point he does because you're probably not going to win there anytime soon, he also gets to pick the destination that he wants. He gets to approve it. He doesn't get to go into another bad situation just because the team is willing to take on that contract. And looking at Spot Track, I don't see any opt-outs in it, so it looks like Kris Bryant could be stuck in Colorado for quite a while. It's not like he could get his money, leave, go to a more competitive team, unless he gets traded again like the way he did with Chicago in the last year of his deal. Looks like he's going to be a Rocky for quite some time. As far as the other people that are interested in him, I know I saw the Phillies linked to him a little bit. They want to upgrade from Alec Boehm. Other than that, there aren't that many great third basemen left on the market. They still could look at the shortstops, potentially a Trevor Story, maybe even a Carlos Correa, go for the really big fish. But other than that, they could look at Michael Conforto if they want to help out their outfield even more, even though they just signed Kyle Schwarber today. Get a lefty bat in that little ballpark, you could damage the Mets even more. Since you like signing former Mets so much, what's another one? And for the Mets, now that Kris Bryant's off the board, I think Carlos Correa is really unrealistic. I mean, I would love Freddie Freeman, but again, I don't see that happening. So for the people that do want the Mets to still get a bat, obviously you always would love to have as many big bats as possible. I do want someone batting behind Alonso so teams don't pitch around him. But slowly but surely, we're running out of guys. Jock Peterson signed. I mean, Jorge Soler is available, but don't forget, Robinson Cano has to play every day, so wouldn't be a DH spot open for him either. I'm really curious to see if Colorado does anything else this offseason just to, again, maybe be semi-competitive. I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe they do want to give Kris Bryant some help. As far as other moves that I haven't touched on yet, last night the Yankees re-signed Anthony Rizzo, 2-year deal, $32 million. And I like it. Anthony Rizzo, like Kris Bryant, former Cub also, got traded this year also at the deadline. Solid player. I mean, he puts bat on ball. We know that. We know what Anthony Rizzo could do with the glove. He's a good player, but when the Yankees are linked to Freddie Freeman and you get Anthony Rizzo, when the Yankees are linked to Carlos Correa and you get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, it doesn't leave a good taste in Yankee fans' mouths, I'd imagine. And what bothers me is that you already had Anthony Rizzo. It wasn't enough. So technically all you've done is just replace Gary Sanchez with Josh Donaldson and replace Gio Urshela with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And again, IKF's defense is great. Josh Donaldson swings a really good bat. But I do think the Yankees could use some more. We're seeing that they're linked to Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas, talking to the Oakland Athletics. That's what they need to do. Focus on their starting rotation. Get somebody after Garrett Cole. Because even Garrett Cole, do you trust him? Big game, wild card game, no spider tack. Couldn't get the job done when it mattered most. And also just find Anthony Rizzo fit a little weird now that the Yankees have added a couple infielders. Somebody has to go to the bench or is not playing every day. Does DJ LeMahieu become a utility player? Because he is getting paid way too much to be a guy that doesn't play every day. Do you give up on Gleyber Torres, make him a bit of a utility guy, even though he could only really play second base? Because as of right now, obviously you have your catcher, whether that's going to be Kyle Higashioka or Ben Roford or somebody else. You have Rizzo at first. You have LeMahieu at second. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at short. You got Donaldson at third. You have Giancarlo DHing, Gallo in left, Hicks in center, Judge in right. So somebody's left out. Does Isaiah Kiner-Falefa go to the bench? Are you going to risk putting Gleyber Torres at shortstop again and have that nightmare where the guy could not play shortstop? So I just think that the fit is a little weird now. And now there's the whole Luke Voit elephant in the room. Luke Voit is not happy. He wants to get moved. Could they trade Luke Voit and maybe even Gleyber Torres? Could they be a part of this Oakland Athletics trade? Because we heard Steinbrenner say today, we don't want to touch the shortstop prospects. If you're not going to part with any of those prospects in a potential Oakland A's trade, maybe you have to part with somebody like Gleyber Torres. If there are any other moves I haven't touched on, you want my opinion on, or any player or team or thing like that, you can always leave in the comments, or just anything in general. Always willing to talk with you guys. But again, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like. It really helps out the videos a lot, helps more people reach it, and shows up in their feeds more frequently. And until the next one, be safe, be smart, be healthy. Let's go Mets. I don't know what the heck you're doing, Colorado Rockies, but good luck to Kris Bryant.